All right, so just wanted to do a video on my Shirley Karate Monkey. Go through the different specs on it. I've had a few questions on Instagram on just the build and what components it has, so I'm gonna just kind of give a little bit of a breakdown. At the moment, it is a single speed setup. Front is a 32 with the back of a 20, so fairly easier gearing for single speed. I live kind of in an area of the foothills of the mountains, kind of gets me around fairly easily. So it's I believe it's a 2020 model wet clay color is what they call it. I guess the kind of the biggest component on this is the carbon wheel set. These are the Santa Cruz wheel sets, carbon that's about 37 millimeters wide, and it's connected to DT Swiss 240S hubs. The ratchet that it has on the rear cassette is a 36 tooth. Looking to probably upgrade that to, I think it's a 54 tooth. The front rims are the same, and this does have a knot boost, which allows it to have regular boost as well as I think a 142 as well. Yeah, that's kind of the biggest component there. I do have a 10 to 50 tooth cassette from SRAM. Kind of moving on up from the bike frame here, we have a Thompson C-post. It's the Elite Dropper, I think 15 centimeters of travel. And connected to that is a Brooks Cambion seat post, 140, I think it's about a 143 wide. And I like to have a cutout in it, so it's the carved version. And then moving up to the top here, so these bars are actually Santa Cruz bars. They're carbon. Actually, I got them used on eBay with ergon grips. It's the GE1, and you'll notice here these brakes are from Clark's. I don't know if you've heard of them before, but they're really cheap. They're budget. It's kind of the one thing I went super budget on. They were, I want to say, like $40 out the door. And then you have a little bling right next to it, so it's kind of got that high-low, you know, your Paul Components dropper trigger. Love it. It's beautiful. And here's another kind of budget, just so that I can kind of test the stem length on it, because I do want to get a Paul Component stem, but it's basically an Amazon stem, 40 millimeters long. It's a little heavy, but it actually works really well. I haven't had any issues with it whatsoever, and granted, I probably only have maybe a couple hundred miles or less on this bike, so yeah, again, like I said, I don't have a ton of experience on hydraulic brakes, but these Clark's brakes seem to work fine. I have Paul Components mechanical clamper brakes on my other gravel bike, and so I actually don't really feel too much of a difference in terms of performance. They are hydraulic, they work pretty well. You can kind of adjust them manually. Another big component, and I would say it's more of the bling, is the White Industries. This is an M30, so the spindle is 30 millimeters, and it has, like I said earlier, a 30-tooth cog, and I just like the way they look. Honestly, they look just beautiful. They work well. I mean, I don't really have any honest performance benefit or loss with them. But I just like the way they look. Then I have some Chris King. This is the Inset 7. I did have to get a converter for the bottom so it can take 1/1/8 inch fork, so it can take kind of a tapered steer if you need it. I have Ron King cage, bottle cage. And this is the one where it actually is, it lowers it a little bit, so you have a little bit more room to grab it from the top tube. And bottom bracket is also a Chris King as well. It's just the 30 millimeter version of it, so silver. And then for the pedals, I have Crank Brothers. These are the stamp, I think they're stamp 7. I actually got those used as well. So yeah, like I said, I kind of had a smaller budget on this bike, and built it up kind of where I'd be happy, and I can kind of maybe replace a few things as I go. But for now, it's beautiful. I love the way it rides. It does have a much slacker head tube angle than what I'm used to with my gravel bike or obviously a road bike. So it does take a little bit more effort for it to kind of turn and kind of maneuver around, but I think I've gotten used to it, so it's not too bad. Another thing that I've done I didn't quite mention, I did get some titanium bolts. I think it was on eBay. It doesn't save a ton, but it saves a little bit, and I think they just look a little bit better than the squared off version. So you'll see here that I've replaced them with there. And then all of those, I think there was like almost 20 bolts across all the different bottle cage mounts, etc. So yeah, hopefully kind of gives you an idea, and if you're kind of thinking about getting one of these, I would definitely recommend it. Very versatile. Thinking about at some point in my life to maybe do some backpacking, maybe in Spain or you know, just around, and I think this bike will be a good contender. I have a Shirley Midnight Special too, which is also a pretty good option to do those type of routes with. But this is also like if it's more rougher terrain, or if I just need like the bigger tire clearance. Oh, which reminds me, the tires here are the Terravale Coronados. They're 3-inch. I was a little worried about kind of their ability to not get cuts and things like that, because they do feel a little bit thin. But so far, I've had some decent trails that I've gone on to really test them, and they haven't budged at all. And the air pressure seems to be holding really well ever since the beginning. So yeah, I think really good buy. They're a little on the spendier side, but I think for a 3-inch tire, it's kind of what's expected. All right, so I just wanted to show some of the components that I have for the Karate Monkey. This is when I have it with gears. As I mentioned earlier in the video, I do have a 10-50 GX Eagle cassette, as well as an XX1 shifter and XX1 rear derailleur. This is actually my first time that I've owned any SRAM components. On the mountain bike, I just wanted to give it a try and to see how it is, and it's definitely much more mechanical feeling, so you definitely can see where, or feel and sense that it's in the actual gear to shift it. So yeah, anyhow, that's some of the components there. Really easy to actually swap from single speed to the gears, because you just you don't need to, like, nothing to do with hydraulics. You just kind of like zip tie them onto the bike, and then that's pretty much how you switch it over. It probably takes maybe about 10 to 15 minutes. So here's the brakes that I was talking about. They're M2 by Clark's. I think I got these online on Chain Reaction. And again, they were on sale for like $20 each. So I got the 180 millimeter rotors that actually come with it. I'm actually not using it on this bike. I actually have a center lock disc, and it came with actually 6-bolt. So these are just, I think they're Shimano actual 180 millimeter brake rotors. So that's kind of what it's on there for the brakes. Just taking a different look, wanted to also clarify, Chris King bottom bracket is actually called Thread Fit 30. And then again, that's just kind of go with the 30 millimeter spindle. I am using the stock C-post, not C-post, but the C-post clamp. It just came with the bike. It's a Shirley C-post clamp. Might maybe change that out to maybe a silver one to kind of go with the rest of the bike. Another kind of detail that I didn't mention earlier when I was outside is, in order to get the single speed functionality on this bike, I did have to get a converter because it has an XD driver. The XD driver is SRAM's, I guess, cassette body, which allows you to do a 10 tooth. And Shimano has a new one as well that is a 12-speed compatible that allows you to also get down to 10. This one is a SRAM, which has been around for a little bit. But in order to get a single speed converter I bought the Problem Solvers version. It allows you to kind of get some micro adjustments because it comes with some of the different spacers. And then it also came with an 18 tooth and a 20 tooth. And as I mentioned, that this is a 20 tooth that I have here. And so I can go a little bit lower in gearing by just adding the 18 with the 6 bolts that you can kind of see right here. Another thing that in order to get the single speed, I did purchase this Shirley. I think it's called the Snugger Knot chain tensioner. So it tensions the chain either looser or tighter based upon where you have it. Other than that, you know, I kind of am liking the fact that this rear knot boost is so flexible and compatible with different modes of how we can ride the bike. That was probably one of the biggest decisions I had to make with going with this particular model with the Shirley Karate Monkey, is that the fact that the rear end is not like a true through axle. It has that knot boost functionality. So anyhow, if you have any questions, let me know. Hopefully you enjoyed this video and you got a lot of details on it. If you do have any other questions, feel free to ask me. I do respond pretty quickly to comments. And if you like this video, go ahead and give it a like, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.